let's try a little acrylic paint and glazing on. Hey, Mom! Leo is kind enough to model this black and white picture I brought with me when I went to visit my daughter.
I'm gonna prime the frame with this all-purpose primer.
So here's a better shot of the picture. Sorry for the reflection. There's going to be a reflection throughout this video. Sorry. Okay, so it's a black and white picture of seagulls, which happened to work because my daughter just loves the beach. My daughter loves birds. So I thought she would love the picture. I was redoing her bathroom and it was going to be like yellow and gray, and so I thought this would match great in that room. I first painted it with Kills primer, and now I'm painting it with this Bare Ultra in a gray color. It's just Home Depot leftover that I got for like $9 for a whole gallon. So, and the color's like a light gray, so it was perfect. Or so I thought. Initially, I just thought I was painting the frame, so I used painter's tape to cover up the glass, and I primed and painted the frame. Here, this is where I'm taking it off, and I thought the project was done. By the way, this is why I always say to use the frog tape. Frog tape does not do this, so when you're looking for painter's tape, don't buy the blue one, buy the green one.
Good way to make sure your thing is even is to hold that up like that, and then you know exactly where to put the other screw. This is how to hang a picture by yourself. Got this bird picture. It's got a cleat on the back, so try to catch that cleat.
Here you can see why I needed a picture. It's because they didn't remove the medicine cabinet when they painted, so the paint does not match.
Coming together. Coming together.
Not so fast. Believe it or not, she didn't like it. She wanted a more colorful picture. She thought the black and white was boring. So, I looked up a technique called glazing, and I'm going to do that with the acrylic. Basically what glazing is when you paint with a lot of light layers with translucent paint, or paint mixed with glaze medium, and what it does is it creates depth, and it's a way of putting color on a picture gradually. So now that I know that I'm painting the picture, I have to remove it from the frame. So you saw me cut the tape off, and now I'm prying the little tabs, and there's a foam backing. I'm using a wedge to kind of take that off, and here we go.
It is a Kodak picture. Okay. This is gonna get painted. You see, it had some water damage there, so I will paint this whole thing matte white. Here's the picture. And it is a picture. Very nice. Nice. So reflective. So I don't want to lose that reflectiveness.
I used Liquitex glazing medium, and you just mix this with the paint and it dries translucent.
Alright, so looking at these pictures, I kind of picked out some colors that I think might go. I do think I have a couple of babies in here, and if I don't, I think I'm going to make them, so I think I'll probably add a little of this as well. We're just going to play by ear, and of course we're going to have black, right? I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to brighten up the picture at the same time. That's what I have the white for. So, looking at these pictures, I love that little green in there. That's green. And the different colors of the rocks and things. Alright. Where to start? Okay. So, I got enough to be dangerous now. I think... Okay, so let's start with this. I have some titanium white. I have mid yellow, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, emerald green, cerulean blue, cobalt blue, cold gray, and Mars black. And I know it's entirely too many colors. We'll see what I use. Alright, gonna get started. I have very little paint because I want it to be mostly glazed, and I know myself, and if I put too much it's going to be madness. Here's a little trick if you're glazing. I'm using basically a cutting board that I got from the dollar store. It comes in a pack of 2. I'm using the shiny side. What I have here is just some paper, right? So it has different shades, and one of the shades that I'm going for is this grayish color. The idea of glazing is to use a very translucent paint mixed with glaze. Oh yeah. This tells you like this is not a translucent paint. This is full coverage. This is like half coverage. See that? This is translucent. So actually, this is what I need to go to the most if possible. For glazing, you basically want to use this phthalo blue is half transparency, and this is transparent. Those are what you want to use. I'm mixing it with a lot of glaze, so I'm not too concerned. What I do with this is I can put this under so that when I do mix it up, if I take the glaze and I mix it with the color, I can see exactly what it's going to look like on the gray without putting it on the painting. You see that? So this is a lot of paint. This is actually a lot of paint for this picture. Alright. Okay. So I'm going to get to that. The fun part is beginning. So, and also I'm going to be mixing the white, you know, lightening it up, whatever. But the white is not transparent, so that's something I have to be very careful of. Actually, I don't want it to start with that. Okay. Let me just do what I'm doing. Alright. I kinda don't know where to start, honestly. I probably need more glaze, to be honest. Let's see what y'all got. Oh, so pretty. I love it. You see that? Just adding a little white to it. So these little seagulls, they're not seagulls, they're ringbill gulls. These little ringbill gulls, look at them. Look at these little ringbill gulls. Alright, I'm gonna just take my time. It's gonna take me like forever because I'm gonna put some Stephen King on and listen to some Stephen King while I do this. This is gonna be fun. Look at that. It's so great. So great. Okay. My daughter wants this to be very vibrant, so we'll see what happens. We'll see.
So I wanted to talk for a moment about this technique, glazing. Usually I've only heard about it used with oil paint, which I've never done oil painting. But I really like using it with the acrylic paint because the acrylic paint dries much faster. So you don't have to wait as long between coats. By the way, if you are inspired by watching crafts like this or projects like this, and if our DIYs motivate you to do it yourself, consider subscribing to Hey Maaa. So I'm using a lot of white here. Usually with glazing, you don't want to use white because it kind of makes the surface look cloudy. But because I was painting water and because I wanted to have sort of like the feathery appearance on the birds, I chose to use a watered down version, watered down with glazing medium. So a slightly transparent version of the white. I thought that would make the water look realistic and the birds as well. But usually you wouldn't use white in glazing. Another thing I wanted to point out is it was kind of neat that I was starting with this black and white photo because all of the shading and the highlights and things were in there. My daughter did want the picture to look lighter, so that's another reason I'm kind of going with lighter colors. But the great thing with glazing is you don't have to do anything extreme that you regret later because you're doing these little light layers. And so if something looks, you don't like how it's coming out, you could tweak it a little bit on the next layer. And this is acrylic. It's drying super fast. You can see me going over it. By the time I'll go and kind of pinpoint the colors that I want all over the painting. By the time I finish with that color and I mix up a new color, all those areas are already dry. So I can just keep going. This is definitely something I would like to try again in the future. This bird in the front, let me tell you, I'm not going to take responsibility for it. I feel like in the original photo, it wasn't focused, maybe because it was so close to the lens or something. And probably from the beginning, I should have just scrapped it and just like drew my own bird in, because the proportions were just weird for that one bird in the front. And you see me, I keep going back to it to try to fix it. I'll tell you, there was no fixing it. So this is interesting part of the glazing technique. Here, I mixed up like a yellowish color. And you see it's a little off, right? But that's because it's the first layer. And later I tweak it and it turns out pretty good. But the first layer is like, I was trying to be very subtle with it, but light. I wanted to use the light color first, like a yellow color, and then go back later and add some more tones to it. So it's really starting to come together, minus that lower left corner. We're just going to ignore that. Like, can you just ignore that? Thank you. Yeah, just ignore it. Pretend it's not there. Okay, this is a very slow process, so I'm going to fast forward it even more. Putting the sand in, I just think that looks so good. And you can see here I'm adding the blue for the water and the blues and the greens, and messy hair don't care. But I turned it to the side just so that my strokes would be more in line with the way my hands want to go anyway. but that bird in the front, it's still a mess. The problem was it was blurry in the beginning. So what I tried to do was put like a base color, and I was just going to draw the bird on top, but I didn't commit fully. Like I should have just started fresh, but I was trying to do it in the shape that was there. But I don't know what was going on with that image in the front, and I should have just... You live, you learn, you know?
I need feedback on this. This is not going well.
So I got some super important feedback from my highly intelligent daughter. She took one look at this and she said, "Get rid of that." And it was just so clear. I really just had to paint over it and turn it into water. So it does take a lot of coats to cover it up. All the layers I had built up trying to turn it into a bird, now I'm trying to turn it into water. Luckily it's kind of like shallow water, so that I can, as long as I fuzzy up the edges that make it look like a bird, it should be pretty good as water. So it was a little frustrating because I was very close to finishing. You can tell by how dirty my palette is that I must be close to finishing. And I was just really, really happy with the way I was able to build up all the color, especially for the water and the feathers and the sand. So I don't think it's going to show up as good as it is in person, but you can really see different kinds of textures, and it looks like, just like I said, it just has way more depth than if you just painted it with opaque paints. So now I'm just filling in a couple of little shading things here, and it's almost done. Like magic, my palette is clean. I think what happened here is that I waited. I wanted to make sure that all those layers where that bird was were fully dried, so that it didn't muddy up the colors too much. By waiting, I allowed the paint to dry and become translucent so I could see what I was really working with, because before it was looking really hazy. You see here, it looks like you wouldn't know that that was there. And that's because I waited till it dried fully, and then I went back with the lighter translucent blues and kind of tied it in with the rest of the picture. So yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. So I definitely recommend you try glazing with acrylic paints. Okay, this project is part of a bigger project I did where I remodeled my daughter's guest bathroom. I remodeled other rooms as well, but this was part of the guest bathroom remodel. So you'll see some videos on those coming up, but here's the finished result. I'm sorry about the glare, the reflection and everything. It was a struggle the whole time, and really I should have took pictures before I put it back in the glass, but it had equally bad reflection as a painting, just flat, you know? So anyway, if this inspired you to try acrylic glazing, leave us a like. If you like to see more crafts like this, then subscribe to Hey Maaa. Until next time, I'll see you. Bye.